However, Cooper Flagg's edition, simplify the offseason for the Dallas Mavericks. We'll break it all down. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man Kevin Gray alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. DLLS Mavs, appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports.
One sec. It was.
No. Not believe what
They can hear you though. Just FYI.
right before the audio.
Oh, they can't hear us?
Well, they can just through the Mac microphone.
Hello!
Hello! Oh, this is the mic's not picking me up.
Yep. Nope. It was. It decided to
We'll just keep talking.
mess up on us.
They can't hear us?
I mean,
Ish? It's a sound
ish.
bad?
Yeah, it's gonna sound bad. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well,
And there's nothing we can do?
Once this comes back, we'll be back.
Kevin
But
sit here?
Well, why don't you
I
get
know
your
it wasn't
headphones
just his mic. This thing just likes to
I think we're good.
do that
We'll
to us
just-
sometimes.
We'll just keep talking. Just go. Cooper.
Confirm that piece of information?
And he also said he's better than Michael Jordan.
Oh, wow. So you're okay.
And I don't know. Just
Okay.
saying things that audio may or may not pick up.
Let's
Oh,
go.
my.
The
Are we
microphone
back?
is working. Yeah. Talk to me about how you're feeling on this terrific Thursday, Tim Cato.
I'm feeling as good as Cooper Flagg when he made those comments.
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
know.
Corella, what's going on?
Feeling good.
Stein, how we feeling?
I'll be with you guys in a second, dealing with some stuff.
Maybe sourcing calls for Marc Stein. A little bit later on in the program, we will get into how the Western Conference has changed quite a bit with the results of the NBA draft lottery. But let's get into today's first topic, gentlemen, because with the addition of Cooper Flagg, there are a lot of things that could be changing for the Dallas Mavericks and how they go about this offseason. So we want you to let us know in the chat, based off of our conversation today, how will Cooper Flagg's addition simplify the offseason for the Dallas Mavericks, Bobby Corella, who do have some options now that they presumably are going to be taking Cooper Flagg number one.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue, like a few days ago that they were facing before they knew that they were going to get the number one spot in the lottery is they needed to get a lot of different things. Like, you need to try and replace Kyrie Irving's quality. So not just his scoring, not just his playmaking ability, but also just having some star power. Like in the NBA, the good players are on the good teams. The good teams have good players. Usually the team with the best players wins games, wins series. If the Mavs want to go to the playoffs, they have to have a lot of talent on their roster in order to get there. And you add someone like that, and now, he might not come into the league as a 20-10 guy or whatever. He might take a couple years to get to that level, but immediately what you're getting is impact at both ends of the floor at a high level from a guy that can play a lot of minutes. And so that solves an issue that you had. You need good players, you got one, and the guy that you would have gotten at 11th or 12th if they would have moved down, maybe he's a good player right away, but probably he's not. And he's certainly probably not going to be as good as Cooper Flagg ever will be, So that is a huge area just in terms of natural talent and floor-raising ability that they got. And it kind of narrows their focus. In my opinion, now all they need to do is focus on adding playmaking, adding guards, shooting, ideally a guy that can do both of those things, but it kind of narrows your focus to offensive quality players, guys that can eat minutes while Kyrie's out and that can still contribute whenever he comes back, whether that comes in the form of a trade, which we explored on yesterday's show, or it comes in the form of one or two minimum salary guys, maybe vets that are journeymen around the league. You can always find players like that, whether it's Russell Westbrook with the Nuggets this year or Tyus Jones with the Suns. Maybe it's not those
How'd
guys
that
in
work
particular.
out?
Well, yeah, not very well for Tyus Jones, but like there's always an
Well,
opportunity.
not for Tyus, but the Suns would say.
Yeah, there's always opportunities to sign, players on the minimum like that.
Right.
So it just narrows their focus, and instead of being like, oh my God, we need everything now, no, you just need the one thing. And from that perspective, it makes this offseason much simpler for the Mavs.
Well, let's be like specific about this. What did Dallas need Monday morning? What were we saying Dallas needed? We said they needed a creator, maybe multiple creators. But people, for those 50-ish games, and again, 50 is just the benchmark we're using, the 50 games that Kyrie is going to miss, they badly need creators on the offensive end. They need quickness. They need athleticism. They needed youth, because the future was in a lot of ways looking bleak. That youth wasn't a. If they didn't get it, then the future was going to go on, and Dallas was going to have to suffer through it. But it was going to be awfully nice if that draft pick could have turned into a player that, once the aging vets aged out, you had hope again. You still had hope. You still had a player who had a high ceiling, who was still developing, growing, and getting better. So yeah, you hoped for that. You hoped for a lot of different things that all of a sudden Cooper just filled all at once. You still need that creator. But to get that creator, it used to be, before Cooper Flagg showed up, before Dallas, lucked into the 1.8 odds, you were looking at a roster that Daniel Gafford was probably going to be your most expendable person. And Daniel Gafford is not as talented, not as valued around the league as someone like PJ Washington, who now may be expendable just because you now have somebody fitting into his position. Again, there's a lot of different ways you can go about this. But the fact that you now have more flexibility, even with players you thought were coming back next season, because before Cooper Flagg came up, of course, PJ Washington wasn't available. You needed him. You didn't have a player like him. Now they have tons of wings. Now, if it comes to it, even though we're all big fans of PJ Washington, we're all, I think, bigger fans of him than Daniel Gafford. If it came to choosing one of them that you had to have on the team next year. But you look at PJ Washington, and he's coming off the bench going into a contract year. It is now plausible that they can use him and the greater value that he has around the league to potentially go and try to find a player that fits this need. It does really simplify a lot of things. Still, I think it's not. I still think there's a little bit more to figure out than just creator. But it's more figuring out how the pieces you have fit and then adding a creator to them than necessarily saying, oh, well, if they add a creator by sending out a center, now they need another center, now they on and on and on and on. It really simplifies it, because you now have a surplus on your roster to also work with. And if you take away, you still have players at those positions. You're still going to have players at those positions that works out.
I'll take it in a little bit different direction. I think it simplifies it in the sense of, now you have two clear paths that you can choose. You can choose to continue to go down the road of, hey, this is a win now roster, and Cooper Flagg's addition allows us to put pieces into place that will help us continue the vision of winning now and going toward a championship. Or there is another school of thought out there that suggests, with the lifeline that Cooper Flagg has now been provided to you with, you could make the difficult decision to begin to reset and start over, to put yourself in a position in the next couple of years with a player of the stature of Cooper Flagg and the projection that he will be as a player, to build around guys like him, Derek Lively II, and others, to give you that much longer of a runway, given the injury concerns that you have with Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving coming back from a torn ACL, and what that could ultimately mean for the championship hopes of the Mavericks in the next year or two. So if you're going down the school of thought of, hey, this is a win now team that with the addition of Flagg, it puts us in a better position to compete in the playoffs now, then you continue to go down that path. Or if you're on the other side, you make the choice, we have a chance to reset and start over, and Cooper Flagg will be the foundation and centerpiece of what the future of this team looks like. And now we need to move our resources and decision-making toward that end and how we move forward as a franchise.
Tanner, can you throw Josh Yan's quote up on the screen for us?
Dream is...
I like the way he said it. Dream was an excellent word.
Ah,
My dream is Andrew Nebhard, but don't think Dallas has anything the Pacers want. Maybe PJ as a Nesmith upgrade, but the fit and value for Indiana aren't there. I'm glad he worded it that way because Nebhard is everybody's dream.
Nebhard is so good.
The whole league wants him. He's on a ridiculously good contract.
I can't believe he signed that deal.
Well, but think about it though. Remember, he was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
So like that was the most they could offer him. It's security, but he signed for one less year than he could have. So like he will go back into the open market. I think
his deal, by the way, is 3 years, $59 million over the next 3 years.
Remember,
18, 19.5, about 21.
But remember, he was a second rounder on a minimum. So to go, when you're making minimum dollars and you get the chance to go to 18 million, you kind of have to jump on that. But he's already outplayed it.
Yeah, in 3 years he had earned $6 million. Next year he's going to earn triple that in his first season of that.
Everybody wants him, and so like I said, the reason I wanted to highlight that comment because I thought it was realistic. Like you can't just say go get Nebhard. Like it's like
well, and the challenge, or like the in an ideal world, you're finding that guy on the rookie deal. Like you're finding the next one. It's always better to be early than late, right? Like once you're reacting to a situation, and this has kind of been the challenge the Mavs have faced for many years now. It's like they're always kind of chasing the next thing. They're overpaying for upgrades in the moment instead of trying to find the guy that could be the next one. Like they found Dorian Finney-Smith, and that was unbelievable. Then they had to trade a first-round pick to get Grant Williams, who is not as good as Dorian Finney-Smith. And then they had to trade another first-round pick to get PJ. And PJ is, on his best day, probably better than Dorian, but like you're giving up multiple ones to try and find the next guy that you just signed as an undrafted free agent. Andrew Nembhard, by the way, was the 31st pick in the 22 draft. The Mavs had the 26th pick in that draft. They traded it for Christian Wood. So that's kind of a, those late picks don't always turn into quality players, but if you trade them for, that was kind of another thing. They traded a first-round pick for a guy that they hope could fill the void created whenever they traded KP, who they traded 2 first-round picks for. It's like whenever you're always chasing, you're preventing yourself from the opportunity of finding the next one.
It's literally the Caleb Martin trade.
Yeah.
This is what, it's not literally the Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin swap. I didn't love that, but I understand the idea of Quentin Grimes at the time, needed the ball a lot in a way that Dallas couldn't offer. Again, I think he fits away. I really think he would have fit better after post-Luka than the pre-Luka, the more I thought about it. But what really bothered us in that deal was that Dallas sent out a second. They sent out a valuable second, early second round. Those are the types, those are picks in the modern CBA that are arguably more valuable than late first round picks because of what you can do with the contracts and the scaling and the non-guarantees. And if you want to make the player a two-way player, you have to flex. You just have so much flexibility. And in the early second, and Dallas was going to have, 36?
35,
35, you're right, 35.
It would be nice, man.
I promise you, that does not mean, in fact, it's far likelier than not they wouldn't have drafted Andrew Nembhard or an Andrew Nembhard type player. Figure that one out.
Well, in 22,
probably,
by all accounts, if they would have stayed at 26, they would have just taken Hardy anyway.
Yeah.
But they were able to get. So it's not like they would have gotten him, but that's just an example.
Exactly. And so we're not saying that for sure they get Nembhard, but those picks are super valuable for those reasons. As you're talking about chasing the next guy, it does bring to mind one thing, which I spent a lot of the segment talking about PJ Washington, the ability, the flexibility I think Dallas has roster-wise to trade for him. But if you are in a situation where you're trading Gafford and PJ, 2 players, 26, 27, for a 33-year-old Drew Holiday, is that chasing? Because the question here is, would a different GM, not named Nico Harrison, come into the situation and say, actually, I don't think Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, and PJ Washington fit that well together. And that makes PJ expendable because he's not going to be a starter. And then he's going to be coming off the bench into a contract year, and he doesn't want that, and it's unlikely Dallas will be able to retain him. That's where his flexibility and availability comes from. But would a different GM look at the situation and say, PJ is actually a great player to pair long-term with Cooper Flagg? And long-term just means as far as you can see. Teams can only see, realistically, 3 or 4 years. They can't even see that far. But you can at least kind of envision what a team looks like 3 or 4 years down the road. So that is a question, and that is the big question about this whole thing.
Because I think another GM would look at Lively, Flagg, and Washington and say that could be the core of my front court.
It's a bad little trio you got there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think another GM would look at Flagg's ability at 18, PJ Washington at the age that he is, and Derek Lively continue to make the leaps and say, "Oh, that's my front court for the next 5-6 years."
But it's also man,
that's what I would do.
A player
personally.
of 80s caliber doesn't come along every day, and so and PJ will never be Anthony Davis, and so it's like you do have to balance you need the game breaking players.
Yeah,
you know, and we saw 80 break a few games this year.
And the one big difference from what I'm saying is Dallas does have to pay PJ. You know, it's not he is not quite, although he's younger, he fits the Cooper timeline a little bit better. I agree. It's not quite going and finding the next guy.
Yeah, you're paying him more than Nembhard would be making,
right?
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know,
those are the things that the Mavericks have in front of them when it comes to how this offseason can look, based on the presumed addition of Cooper Flagg in the June NBA draft.
We say it simplifies, but it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But hey, it's tough. Team building is hard.
Team building
There's
is
a lot
very
of rules
difficult.
that make it very tough.
And
it simplifies your options.
There's a lot of options that the Mavericks
and your
have,
flexibility.
for sure. Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, let's discuss how the West has changed given the fact that the Mavericks have won the NBA
Not
draft
in a
lottery.
good way.
Oh, no.
All that and more coming up next, Marc Stein, on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But I want to put some money back in your pocket, and I want to help you do it today through OwnWell. Of course, it is that time of the year where property taxes are due, and OwnWell wants to make sure that you are only paying what is fair when it comes to your property taxes. And with it, today being the last day of the protest, I want you to make sure that you're able to get all the maximum savings which you can when it comes to OwnWell. In fact, 86% of OwnWell's customers receive a reduction with an average customer savings of over $1,100 to handle everything from start to finish when it comes to paying your property taxes, and they deliver top results as well with no upfront costs, and you only pay if you save. They can put property tax money back in your pocket in just minutes. In fact, in just 3 minutes, you can sign up. So the deadline to protest is today in most counties here in the great state of Texas. So I want you to save money on your property taxes with OwnWell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/DLLS. That's OWNWELL.com/DLLS today.
Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it, just like they helped us. Got the Empire Today flooring in the DLLS studio.
Boom, 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 boom.
Man, we were stomping around a little bit here on these very floors just a few days ago when 1.8 became 180%.
I was literally
chance.
running on those floors. That's right.
Yeah, and let me tell you, not even a mark on it with our excitement. In fact,
Spilled some pizza, got marinara everywhere.
everywhere.
Cleaned right up.
And that Empire Today
You guys are
flooring,
slobs.
it only boosted our excitement. It only had us elevated to the rafters. We love Empire Today because they live and breathe flooring, and they will be there with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ball game, just like the Mavericks getting Cooper Flagg. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Who could the Mavericks pass in the Western Conference this upcoming season, and how the rest of the Western Conference has changed now that the Mavericks have won the NBA draft lottery? Plus, a little bit later on, the dilemma of the Maverick fan right now, given the fact that the Mavericks somehow won the lottery and now, of course, dealing with what's to come in the future for this team. But let's just jump into it, gentlemen, because obviously the dramatic shift that we've seen in the NBA in the wake of Jason Tatum's injury with the Boston Celtics, the Mavericks winning the NBA draft lottery, the potential Giannis Antetokounmpo potentially coming to the Western Conference. There's a lot up in the air as the Mavericks continue to build their roster going forward, but also at the same time try to figure out what is best for them in what will be a difficult Western Conference. Tim Cato, how has the rest of the West changed, and what could we see in terms of the Mavericks passing up teams in the West with the addition of Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, so Dallas, as me and Bobby, well, all of us were talking, but Bobby, said there's 4 teams. You got to pass 4 teams. Dallas was 10th. We keep saying, we think they need to be top 6. Top 6 is okay. 5 or 6 is okay. how many teams outside of the top 4 are in the conference finals?
Minnesota now,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Mavs did it last year as a 5 seed.
That's right.
But
We've
if
seen
you're
5
a
teams.
7 or 8, it gets pretty dang tough.
Yeah. Top 6 is the ideal situation. And, the teams directly ahead of Dallas last season: Sacramento Kings, Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, and then Clippers, Nuggets, Lakers, Rockets, Thunder. I think it's safe to assume that the Thunder, the Rockets, the Nuggets, though there's Asher, we got to see what the Nuggets are up to. The Timberwolves.
Oh man, the Nuggets they're old. They're still they're still good. Jokic is still great.
They're going to get KD. Didn't you hear?
Oh yeah?
I don't know. I saw someone
Well, look,
tweet
with the
it, so
Nuggets,
it's gotta be
the
true.
great fortune the Nuggets have is a superstar who seems to apply the least pressure on his team of any superstar. Like, I've never encountered a soul in the NBA who ever says, can you picture Jokic trying to force his way out of there? Like, it's just never a discussion. And
Hell, he don't like the job he already has anyway. I'm just joking.
yeah, I mean,
I'm just
and it's like, I remember Ramona Shelburne, my former teammate at ESPN, she actually got a one-on-one with Jokic during training camp, and he never gives one-on-ones, but said something to the effect of, basically made it sound like he was happy to have the championship he has and don't get greedy. And so, like, I mean, the Nuggets, who have not done a good job of putting a supporting cast around him, like, they are so lucky that Jokic isn't banging on their door to, like, make this team better or get me out of here. Because, yeah, the Mavericks are clearly going to rebound now after they were presumed to be headed for the lottery. The Spurs, up to the number 2 pick, tons of optionality. The Rockets have as much optionality to make their team better as any team in the league. Minnesota, they were in the Durant trade mix at the deadline. Now, they didn't get Durant, didn't really have a functional way to get Durant because of their apron issues, but like second straight run to the conference finals. The Wolves could be back in the Durant mix in the offseason. So, like, I don't necessarily obviously they're going to let their season play out, and Julius Randle has had a tremendous playoff run, the best we've ever seen him on the playoff stage. So maybe Minnesota just plays this out and runs it back as is. But
They might go to the finals.
that's the thing. I mean, it's open right now. Anybody could win right now. I mean, it's very wide open. And it's not, yeah, you're right. It's not inconceivable that they win it all.
I think this is actually easier to do to start from the bottom. Utah Jazz. Dallas will be better than what Dallas are we imagining? Are we just imagining let's say a Dallas that is...
I would just say, before we write off the Jazz completely, though, they too have a lot of stuff. And so they could make deals. Yeah, I mean,
what is going on in Utah?
The first the first 2 seasons with Will Hardy, they were 26 and 26, which you would describe as like an ethical tank. You know, they played 50 plus games before they started tanking. This season, they flat out tanked hardcore, minute 1, fined $100K, not playing market enough.
AJ DeBonce is going to BYU, Mark. They're going to be under the pressure to get that
But
guy.
they just found out that having the worst record in the league can also land you 5th.
Yeah.
You're not getting DeBonce at 5. So I don't know what Utah's going to do. I'm just throwing that out as a disclaimer that, like,
Sure.
might they say, you know what, we have a ton of picks and players people like, do they get impatient? That's all. That was my thing.
I think we should just target teams ahead of the Mavs, honestly. Because you in order for them to get to the top 6, they have to hold teams up, but they got to pass people.
Yeah. So
Like
let's do that. My only question, where do we think the Spurs are next year?
Spurs might be better than
Damn
the Mavs
good.
next year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think even without the Giannis trade, I am assuming that they're a top 8 team.
I agree.
100%.
A top
agree.
8 means you can hold them off. Top 8 means that you can be better than them.
I mean, obviously, you're banking on a full recovery from Wemby.
Yes.
Mhm.
But, like, you know,
And health.
it's
and all that
interesting
stuff.
because, you know, the noise has already started.
We're
We're like,
assuming
no,
health
we're
in all of
keeping
this.
number 2.
Yeah.
We want Dylan Harper. He can play with Fox and Castle. Like, that chatter is already out there.
Yeah,
but
sure
like,
he can.
but
Of course he can.
But I think around the league, people are saying,
I'm not elevating De'Aaron Fox and Wemby into like top 4 instantly, just those 2 alone. I don't think it's absolutely plausible because Wemby is Wemby, but I don't think this is a team that's immediately jumping to that level if they don't make win now moves, which could be Giannis or could be something smaller than Giannis. So the teams ahead of them are Sacramento, Memphis, Golden State, Minnesota.
I think the Mavericks could find themselves moving ahead of Sacramento.
Yeah.
They're better. They're better
better
than
than
the Kings
Sacramento.
right now.
Yeah, they would have been better last
Maybe
year.
even without Kyrie, they're better than Sacramento.
Yeah. Memphis is a wild card.
Memphis is
because
really weird.
with the whole John Moran situation. What do they decide to do with him potentially going forward? So those two teams immediately, I feel like if you're the Mavericks, you could have a good chance of moving ahead of pretty quickly.
Team I'm looking at, Tim, the Warriors. Tell
Yeah.
me why the Mavs cannot pass them next year.
Because the Warriors made their move and they're really good after the deadline, and they just fit a little bit better.
Oh, but that's gonna be an old team next year. They're gonna be another year older.
But somehow,
because Butler's gonna be 36.
but they're going. I think they will turn Kuminga into something.
Are they able? Okay, so we were talking about this before the show. We need Sarah, the lawyer, in the chat to speak up and let us know.
our CBA expert.
Signing and trading Kuminga would put the Warriors likely put the Warriors above the second apron. Are you able to sign and trade a guy if you're above the second apron? Because I know acquiring a player that has been signed and traded to you hard caps you at the first apron. The Warriors are already above the first.
I'll look into this and have an answer tomorrow. How about that?
Okay.
Let's revisit this tomorrow.
Okay. But I
So,
think
I'll try to get an answer while we're talking. Keep going.
And so I think for sure Oklahoma City, Houston, the Clippers, you just never know with them. The Lakers, Thunder, Rockets, Lakers, Wolves, assuming they keep it together.
the built-in assumption is that the Lakers are going to try and upgrade.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming those are top 6 teams next season. Assuming the Wolves keep it together. And then you're talking about the Mavericks, but also the Spurs, the Warriors, the Clippers, the Nuggets, depending on what they do. I think that's about it. I really like the Trailblazers. I really like what they're building. I wish they had one more thing and they could get into the Giannis conversations. But that'd be a really fun Giannis landing spot. But
Yeah, the top of the West is going to be extremely difficult. We mentioned the teams that we feel like penciled in already that are going to be in that top 6. Oklahoma City, Houston. I would comfortably put Minnesota there already. Those are 3 teams. I imagine Los Angeles would be there as well. So that gives you 4 already. Now you start thinking about Denver and the Clippers. Denver, you would think will try to run it back maybe one more time with the group that they have before ultimately having to make a decision on who they're going to keep, guys like Michael Porter Jr. and others. And then the Clippers, I guess you got to continue down the road with the Kawhi Leonard thing because at this point, I think what bothers me about the Clippers is you got the first full healthy postseason for Kawhi Leonard in a Clippers uniform, and you still couldn't get out of the first round.
The thing, though, the truth is, and the Clippers are never going to come out and say this, but I think this season was honestly a pleasant surprise and gravy for them, truthfully, because they took a major they let Paul George go without compensation to reset themselves, to create financial flexibility, which, if my memory's right, they won't even realize till after the 27 season. Maybe it's after next season, but it might not even be till 27. So the fact that they're even still this good in the short term, I think is a bonus for them. I think they're still going to be dangerous. I mean, they've got a creative front office, and I think they'll bring Harden back. And Harden, obviously Game 7 didn't work out great, but I think by and large he had a strong season. Like, the West is monstrous, man. Like, we can go through every team, and probably almost every team I can give you a scenario of why the Mavs should be worried about them. I mean, even Portland. Like, Portland has, Avdia and Camera, like, just had breakout seasons. Like, they don't have a star per se, but they also have all these tradable contracts. Like, they can make a move to upgrade. I think they will be a tougher out just by virtue of the moves they make. So, like, I think every team in the West right now is just looking at the standings. They're looking at what just happened to Tatum and just like, we are stuck here, man. Like, the balance is so.
Clippers are about $20 million over the cap next season, but currently, as things stand, $60 million under the following season.
Is it so? It is 26 when they gain their flexibility. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, 26.
They let Paul George.
$60 million is like one max guy.
They let Paul George go for flexibility in it, and like, they live to tell about it. I mean,
Yeah.
like, Paul George obviously year one, and not just for him, year one in Philly was not
disaster class.
disastrous.
You want to talk about balance? 5, 6, 7 Clippers, Wolves, and Warriors at different points, depending on how you slice it. In the second half of the season, all three of those teams were the second best team in the NBA, or in the West.
Jeez.
Like
Again,
based on net rating and
Wolves
record and everything.
Wolves had to go 17-4 just to get the number 6 seed. And I was in LA when they won Game 5 and knocked the Lakers out. And I was talking to some of their staffers, and I wish I had the exact number, but they mentioned those three. There was one point where, like, over a multi-week segment of the season, that the Wolves, the Clippers, and the Warriors went like again, this is not the exact number, but it was something like they went 39-3, those three teams over a stretch, and like nobody could gain any ground.
They're 5 through 7.
Like it's gonna
be tough.
And
man.
I think next season's West will be tougher than it is now.
By the way, to punctuate the point on the Timberwolves, because you took the point right out of my mouth, in the last 31 games, including the 10 postseason games, 25-6 are the Timberwolves in their last 31 games.
Yeah.
And it's got them, of course, now in the Western Conference Finals.
I'll end
for a
on
second
this.
straight.
I think the top 6 in the West next season is way too soon to know this, but it's OKC, it's Houston, it's the Lakers, it's Minnesota with this tiny asterisk, and then I think one of Denver or the Nuggets or the Clippers, one of those teams is going to be good. So either the Mavericks can be 6th there, or it's the team that goes and gets Giannis. Way too soon to say. way too soon to say. But there's just like a quick look at how things could be, assuming Dallas doesn't. That's why Dallas still is going into the summer knowing they need upgrades,
And this is
knowing there's
assuming-
still a little bit of work to do
Yeah.
on this roster as is.
And this is assuming optimal health for all these teams going
Yeah, of
into
course.
next year.
There's always a team that gets injured.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, the dilemma for Mavericks fans right now after having won the lottery. Where are you and how you feel about this team and its future? All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But you can feel better potentially tonight by making sure that you get on Sleeper. The best fantasy league platform out there allows you to put your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less in their projected stats each week. If it's anything like it's been so far for the Stars this year, somebody's getting a hat trick tonight, damn it. And if you're taking Nico to have a goal and a half, hey, you could probably become a winner tonight because he's been on an absolute tear in this postseason. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries so you can stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. So if you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use code DLLS Mavs to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. You can apply it to any contest. It doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply to Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, so you make sure you check out Sleeper today.
Let's face it, everybody stinks from time to time, and fellas especially. It's not just your pits. It is every part of your body, and I'm talking specifically about the things going around your pelvic region. Our friends at Mando can get you smelling good from head to toe and everywhere in between. That includes your balls, your butt, your belly button, underneath your man boobs. We all got some moves from time to time. Every part of your body, it's hot as hell outside. You're sweating and you're stinky. And don't do that to yourself, and especially don't do that to the people around you. They deserve better. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starting pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your pack. Use code DLLS at shopmando.com. That is SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Very challenging read at lunchtime.
Sorry, everybody. But hey, it's probably easier to hear me talk about your grundle than it is to smell it. All right?
Hey, we know Mando works. We've had Bobby using it for about a week now. These shows are so
you can
much
finally
more pleasant.
tolerate being around me.
Yeah. just a game changer for us here.
One quick update before I proceed. One of my trusty cap expert pals, the great Keith Smith, says that Golden State can indeed do a Kuminga sign and trade
I hope
this
they don't
offseason.
know that rule.
However, he does.
I'm sure they probably do.
He did say it will be tight and challenging, but I mean, they've committed to the Curry, Butler, Draymond Green trio. So, I mean, given the way they were using Kuminga before Stephen Curry's injury, he's going to be a restricted free agent. I can't say that I forecast his future.
Way to build up the player's value by just not playing him at all. Good job, guys.
Wonder what Klay Thompson thinks about them swapping out one 36-year-old with another 36-year-old in a big three core.
Giving him the bag too.
I'm not sure. I wonder, but
you seen Clay's new haircut, by the way? He's gone with a very
haircut,
closely cropped look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Taking it back to his early Golden State days.
Where would I go find that?
If I saw it on Twitter, you should be able to find it, man. If the old man could find it,
I don't follow TMZ Mavericks.
Wow.
They just post screenshots.
Clay literally posted it on his own Instagram account.
I don't follow players on Instagram.
Well, something you need to get on
Me
your
neither.
job then. Maybe you should.
I honestly haven't logged into Instagram
shots
in a
fired.
week.
Dang.
You should.
Dang.
Before
Tough love on the set today.
Before we get to how you're feeling as a Mavericks fan at this particular point and what the dilemma is for Mavericks fans going forward, let's hear from Cooper Flagg real quick. He spoke at the NBA Draft Combine yesterday, fielding questions from the media, and Marc Stein's old pal David Aldridge had this particular question for Cooper Flagg about his potentially joining the Dallas Mavericks. Here's what Cooper Flagg had to say.
The goal is to get to the NBA and to be in the NBA, and so the team matters to some degree, but doesn't matter. But I just wonder now that this is, that this is where you're likely to go, just kind of how you think you could best help them if they do take you.
Yeah, man, I think, like you said, grateful to get this opportunity, any opportunity to any team to be able to hear my name called on draft night and shake Alex's hand. So I'm just really excited for this whole opportunity, the environment to go through this process. Not everybody gets to do this, so just really, really blessed. As far as Dallas goes, I mean, they got a lot of really good pieces. Be live, going from Duke, that's pretty cool. So I think it would be a really cool opportunity.
The great David Aldridge.
That's right.
One of my mentors.
Oh, very nice.
D Live gets the first shout out from Cooper Flagg. How about that?
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Maybe what
Huge mystery.
Is Derek Live from Maine as well?
Mm.
Derek Lively.
I don't know who Derek Live is, but
What's
Derek.
wrong with Cato today? Throw some Mando on him. Throw some Mando on him and let's fix him.
Are you genuinely implying that I am being more weird than usual?
That's a good point.
This is pretty much my resting state.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, the dilemma that Cato has right now, we'll try to figure out our own dilemma when it comes to Mavericks fans, because there is one, I think, prevailing on social media or from fans in general who have reacted to this particular set of circumstances now that the Mavericks have won the lottery. Some conflicted Mavericks fans out there now that they have the lottery ticket with Cooper Flagg presumably coming to Dallas in June, but also having dealt with what was a tumultuous season anyway. How would you describe the dilemma for Mavericks fans in certain ways, given what's happened for this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's, our buddy Jake Kemp from the Dumb Zone, who was also on our show the night Luka made his return to American Airlines Center on April 9th. He put it pretty succinctly. He's like, I'm not going to root for the team as long as the people that are in charge are in charge.
Sure.
Our other buddy Jason Gallagher, our other fan correspondent, also has said, hell no, he's not coming back.
Yeah,
to his Mavericks.
And that's a lot of a sentiment for a lot of fans.
Yeah, no, that's not for everybody.
Sure.
There are a lot of people that are real fired up about it. I mean, I'm fired up that the Mavs got Cooper Flagg. I'm not fired up. I still don't trust necessarily the decision makers in charge of this thing, but assuming that they take Cooper Flagg. But I definitely recognize, I think them getting Cooper brings back some people. It doesn't bring back everybody. The people that were sticking around are definitely pogging right now and saying, oh, well, welcome back, a bunch of former haters. So I think it resolves some tension. It creates some new tension. But yeah, I mean, I think that, he's definitely a player to root for these fans that wanted players to root for and that just couldn't find it in themselves to give AD the love that they had for Luka.
Sure.
Because AD kind of represents the trade, even though it's not AD's fault. He didn't make it happen. If you'd asked him, he probably wouldn't want it to happen. But I think it creates some new conflict for people that maybe it's bringing some back, and maybe it's there are people that have texted me that have said they want to root for them, but they just can't.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the toughest thing is like them getting Cooper Flagg almost makes it harder to not be a fan.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the group worth highlighting. There's a lot of people who stayed fans the whole time. A lot of people who are just they're back in now that Cooper is here. I say, you know, everybody has their own unique relationship to fandom and the teams that they're fans of. If you're back in, there's a lot of people who were upset and angry, and now they have something to be excited for. There's also people who just haven't come back. So I think those are the two groups at each extreme or each end of fandom, of the pole of fandom. It's the people in the middle that I wanted to highlight. And there's a lot of people that I've seen who have very, very, you know, they're not hopeless or depressed or, you know, pessimistic, but they're conflicted. And I think my belief about what fandom is and what it represents is that, yeah, you're allowed to enjoy the Mavericks as much as you want to enjoy them. And if there are still, if there are things about Cooper that make you happy and there are other aspects of the team that do not make you happy, and, you know, it's a, you know, so you strike a balance in the middle, or you sometimes enjoy aspects of the team and sometimes you tune out to others. Or, you know, I remember towards the end of last season, when Dallas was in the play-in tournament, there's people who were on our show saying it still hurts too much to actually watch the games, but Dallas was in the play-in tournament. They were in these play-in games, so the closest they could get was watching our watch-along or our show. You know, I think those are the people I am most interested in just seeing how their feelings evolve as over the coming months, because it is a very complicated thing. And you could look at the Luka trade, and if you squinted your eyes and covered your ears and pretended like Cooper Flagg was just part of it, maybe rationally that is different, but it's not. And Dallas got lucky. You know, they got lucky.
It's major cope to say that was part of the trade.
Yeah, they got it was pure dumb luck and fortune that allowed this team to get back to where they needed to be, to recoup something that was damaging in terms of what they traded away and what they got back for it. And I don't know. I'm just interested and I am personally most curious how fans continue, those fans in the middle who feel a little bit of both both ends of the spectrum, how they continue going about this.
It's just weird because there's people, like, I would lump myself in this category. I like the Mavs. I don't really care who runs the Mavs, and honestly, most of the time, I don't even care who plays for the Mavs. I just like the Mavs, but that's because I was, almost brainwashed into liking them from the time that I was negative years old. So I don't really have a choice in this whole matter. But I think there is like a major distinction between you like the logo, like you like the thing, you like the idea of the Mavericks. The people running the team, you can hate them. There have been Mavs players that I have not liked one bit. There have been Mavs coaches that I haven't liked. I worked at the Mavs. I got along with most of my coworkers. Some of them I didn't. So like there is always this emotionally complicated kind of relationship between fan and team. But yeah, I mean, I think that fans dislike, or in some cases hatred, of Nico or Patrick Dumont or the decision makers. I don't really think it's fair for Rick Welts to be lumped into that necessarily, because he wasn't around for
he just got here 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, he's kind of like, I mean, I just work here, man. Yeah. But like, I think it's so strong, so overwhelmingly negatively powerful, sure, and almost all consuming, that it prevents them from liking the team. I heard producer of Cowboy Show, TC, say it on his podcast. It's Just Banter. Great show. He said like that, because he was kind of one of those people. He's like, man, I can't stand these guys, but like I kind of like the Mavs still. Yeah. It's like that anger, that hatred doesn't serve you at all. Like clinging on, and he's trying to say this to persuade Jake to like the Mavs, and Jake is like, it doesn't matter. I don't like him. I can't root for them while he's around, because if they succeed, then it means he succeeds. Like it sucks to feel that way, but I understand it.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Mavericks fans who are happy about the fact that the team will potentially be landing Cooper Flagg, the process and how we got here, not necessarily excited about the way we got to this point, but happy in some ways that we're here. But also there's a sentiment out there that says, I can't wake up excited about the fact that Nico is excited about getting Cooper Flagg, because I'm excited about it too.
given how the circumstances have played out to get here.
Yeah.
So I think
the alternative is Jace Richardson at 12. You know?
Exactly.
In that case, it is very literally like it's either Cooper Flagg or not Cooper Flagg.
Exactly.
You know?
So I think for fans who have that conflict, trying to parse out how I feel or how they feel about the front office versus the actual love of the team in and of itself, I think will continue to be a dilemma for this team, for those fans continuing to go forward as well. So I think one of the things that sticks with me at this particular moment is, look, man, don't let the fact that the Mavericks getting Cooper Flagg take away from what happened in terms of how they got here to begin with, because in a lot of ways, and I feel this way about my Cowboys as well, the process how they got here stunk. But you came out on the other side with something unexpected and pretty damn cool with the idea of getting Cooper Flagg. And that should not take away the joy that you have in terms of where the direction of the franchise could go if Flagg, of course, is coming to Dallas.
Unless something extraordinarily controversial happens, it's
Sure.
very likely that Flagg will be on the Mavs long after Nico is the GM.
Very true.
And it's like that with your least favorite players too. Your least favorite player is going to be out of the league before you're done being a fan. So like, you know, things will change eventually, but I mean, this is just it's a huge jolt to a fan base that really needed it most of all.
Who's your least favorite Maverick of all time?
Of all time?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there have been some that did bad things while they were here. There are some that
fair.
did bad things while they were not here that I still judge. So I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but I think, you know, everyone hates Rondo and Odom. Those are the safe answers. No disrespect to those guys. I had no problem with Rajon Rondo, but personally or anything.
But not after all of this,
Trying to get you to say, never mind.
I root for
Just
this.
let's talk after.
Yeah. I root for this show, and I root for the content of this show.
Yeah, that's
Damn it.
right.
Damn it, Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
You good for the content of this damn show.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Come on the show, Cooper.
Let's take our final break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we're going to get to your Super Chats because y'all have been cooking with the Super Chats. We'll get to all those coming up next year on the program.
But first, the time is now to become a diehard because, again, folks, fandom does not disappear. It either turns into love or turns into hatred. But either way, you feel it because you're a fan. And we make it more fun to be a fan here at DLLS Sports. There are a lot of people, I'm sure, that are watching our show for the first time this week after Monday's Miracle. Welcome aboard. We're a growing community here at DLLS Sports. We just eclipsed 24,000 subs on YouTube. We're going to reach 25,000 soon. That's going to be a great milestone. But we also have nearly 1,500 diehards. A diehard is a member of our community here. You can become one yourself by scanning that QR code beneath Marc Stein, clicking the link in the description below, or going to alldls.com/diehard. When you sign up, you get a free shirt of your choice. We got more than 40 shirts to choose from. You also get access to our entire website, all that premium written content, not just about the Mavs, but about the Stars, about the Rangers, about the Dallas Cowboys as well, of course. And rolling out this week on our site is the NBA draft, the diehard draft guide. It's all right. We don't need to show them. We'll tell them, leave it mysterious. Will Gottlieb and Derek Bodner from within the All City Network put together a big board evaluating all of the top prospects in this class. Obviously, the Mavs choice is pretty simple. It's Cooper Flagg, number one. But if you want to read about his strengths, weaknesses, stats from college, projections into his future career, some video analysis as well, it's a great place to go. But if you're just a draft geek and you want to know about all these guys, it is the best place on the internet to get all of that information. We did one for the Cowboys draft as well. And if you want to be part of the draft coverage next year, hey, sign up now and you'll get that NFL stuff next season too. You also get to join the DLS Diehard Discord Lounge. Great place to hang out with fellow diehards. Discount on events, discount on gear, and Marc Stein.
Sorry.
The physical diehard card,
baby.
That's
I can
right.
interrupt some sourcing.
Krakatoa's finest.
I can interrupt some sourcing discussions.
It's important.
Oh,
tell him I got more important things to do.
Send them a diehard card.
Yeah,
right.
send them a diehard card for your next scoop.
That's right. Appreciate all of you joining us here on our DLLS Sports family. In fact, over 24,200 strong as far as our subscriber count is concerned, inching that much closer to 25,000. The easiest way you can support us here is to like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports. And also find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Search DLLS Mavs, give it a 5-star rating, and write a review for it while you're there. Let's finish up here on our show today, as we got some super chats we got to get to on the DLLS Mavs podcast. By the way, the Oklahoma City Thunder could
potentially close out the Denver Nuggets tonight to reach the Western Conference Finals. They will look to do that on the road. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics staved off elimination for at least one more night after blowing out the Knicks in game number 5. They'll look to extend that series this weekend in New York. Sheldon with the $1.99 super chat. Draft Cooper Flagg, trade Daniel Gafford for Anthony Black from Orlando.
The money doesn't work, so there would need to be some stuff involved. Obviously, I love Anthony Black.
I do too.
He's from here. Really, really nice guy, good player too. But I do think they need shooting as well, and that's kind of his, his big weakness right now. Obviously, great defender though. I mean, he's a really good player. I like him.
He would fill one need, but not the other two that Dallas has. They need more shooters. They need creators who can do on-ball things to create advantages, and they need players who can guard quicker point of attack, opponents. And he does only the third one at this point, even though I really like him.
Victor Lugo with the $4.99 super
Kind of
chat.
does the second one.
With PJ's close bond with Jet, talking about Jason Terry, after being his favorite player, do you think he would be open to accepting a sixth-man role if offered a new contract this summer?
Potentially, but then you're paying a lot for a sixth man. And so it's, there's only so much money to go around before you start imposing some really harsh restrictions on your own ability to keep adding talent to the team. And so it's one of those things where, can you find a balance where player is happy with his money and team is happy with paying that much for the role that player is providing? It's tough. I mean, it could work out perfectly, but it could get really complicated.
Flips with the $1.99.
I believe that is
euro.
that's a pound.
Yeah,
that's not a euro. That's
euro,
a pound. That's a
yes.
quid.
Pound.
$1.99, $2.
Oh, appreciate it. Trade PJ for a first and sign Larry Nance Jr. for 3 years at $20 million. It's very specific.
Larry Nance Jr. That is a Marc Stein personal favorite.
It is. Sorry, I was distracted. I'm trying to get something nailed down.
Really, you're working the phones
There's something
today.
before the end of our show that I'm trying to get nailed down.
Okay.
So
I know what you're talking
it's just
about.
taking a lot of. It's just taking
It's
a
the
lot.
honest trade, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
You figured it out.
All right. Step 2 of the rigging
Hardy in a
process
couple
underway.
seconds.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's
wow.
go.
Wow.
Wait, no, they only have 1 second. Oh my god.
Yeah, my bad. Hardy in 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Victor Lugo spending more money with the $1.99 super chat. Lonzo or Ayo Dosunmu from Chicago. Christie for Ayo Dosunmu.
We appreciate you, Victor.
Two things.
Yeah.
You're right. Larry Nance Jr., I would personally be highly in favor of that for reasons that will become notable later. As far as Lonzo, yeah, I mean, Lonzo is I think he's a name to be monitored because the Bulls gave him that extension because they want him there. They want Lonzo there for his leadership and how he fits into that locker room.
They got a lot of guards, Mark.
They do have a lot of guards, and it is a very tradable contract. And look, Lonzo is only
2 years, $20 million.
Lonzo is only playing. He is not an every single game player at this point, given the injury torture he's been through. But stylistically, as a two-way guard who can handle, I mean, I would just say he's an interesting name. I think we got to keep on the radar.
He's more of a 3-and-D wing at this point than a creator. Great passer and definitely can handle the ball. Definitely can run point guard. He's just not going to create advantages downhill off the dribble that allow you to make the passes. That allows him to use that passing ability. Still love him as a player.
Play with Kyrie though.
Yes, and I love that. That's the most
and that's kind of the
aspect.
issue because they need someone at the start of the season. To lead the show,
that's exactly
to run
my
the
pushback.
show, not playing with Kyrie is not the only consideration here.
Yeah. I would love him playing next to Kyrie, though.
Flips back in with the
Let's go, Flips.
$4.99. PJ and Daniel Gafford to Los Angeles for a first-round pick, 2 to 3 swaps as they're desperate. Then Los Angeles's picks could get us Kobe White without giving up any of our picks. Kai Jones and Nance as free agents.
Big Larry Nance fan. Larry Nance fan.
Yeah.
I do like Larry Nance. I think he's a good player. I think it's interesting. I mean,
Larry
think
Nance is a free agent, though, and I think he's going to have a fair bit of free agent summer interest.
The PJ and Gafford thing is tough though because you have to take back salary for those guys. Presumably you would send some of that to Chicago for Kobe White, but then it's like, why not just make that deal with the Bulls instead of involving the Lakers? I don't want to make the Lakers better personally. Anti-improving the Lakers here. I'm a massive Lakers hater.
Bulls need a long-term center. Bulls seem always very resistant to tanking out. PJ and Gafford are players I think that would fit right in, based off
what I know from afar. Pat Williams too.
Victor Lugo back in with the $1.99 super chats. Appreciate you. PJ as a sixth man can be Lamar Odom for us.
Hopefully not the Mavericks Lamar Odom.
Right. Exactly. Corbin with the $5 super chat. One more pre-trade thing, not huge sample. Kyrie, Clay, Luka, PJ Lively had a net rating of plus 23.5 in 119 minutes. They'd still be playing fully healthy.
Probably a Western Conference Finals.
Right there with you
in that past team's future.
Yeah,
if not finals.
Agreed. Victor Lugo back in one more time with the $4.99 super chat. Sound like you got paid today or something.
Let's go, Victor.
All the cash. Ignoring your Nico hate, given why Nico traded Luka, a team of two-way players, how can you not trust him to build a contender for the third time? Because I simply don't. Simply don't.
I think, man, it's kind of tough to answer because, I think that they're really good if they're healthy right now. I think that a lot of the issue is not even necessarily his judgment, which I am a little worried about, but they're running out of ways, they're running out of ammo to use to get better, and something out of Nico's hands, which is Kyrie's injury, is definitely making this much tougher. Because what if Kyrie is just not Kyrie again when he comes back? If he is, that's great. But by then is AD still AD? By then is Clay still Clay? All these things, and some of that is just out of his control, out of his influence, in addition to running out of ways to make trades to get better, given the reduced number of picks that they have and all of those things. So the task at hand is much more difficult now than it was in 22 or in 24, in my opinion.
I do not believe Nico values elite creation quite as much as he should. And I think the examples to that is that he traded Luka for as little as he did, and thus I don't think he understood. I think he underrated my view, my perspective of what has happened over the past few years. I think he's slightly underrated how much Luka contributed to the team's success, the team heights, the team ceilings. Slightly underrated what his creation, what his passing, what his overall floor dominance as an offensive player contributed to that Mavs success. I think he slightly underrated that. Clearly, like based off the trade, based off what he also went into, was the 21-22 season with no backup point guard. Is that right? Do I have my years right? That was the Facundo Campazzo year.
Yeah. I mean, Dinwiddie was the starter after Brunson left, and I mean they did not move heaven and earth to keep Brunson. Clearly,
right? They didn't do that. I think that the Facundo Campazzo is that's totally fine as our backup point guard. That leads me to believe this. Then going into the season after Brunson left, so that was the 22-23 season. That was the Campazzo season. Yeah. I've seen a consistent pattern of him valuing two-way players at the expense of high-level elite creation.
In 2004, you had one point guard. In 2004, you only needed one dribbler. For many, many, many years of NBA basketball. Now you need five.
Right.
Or at least four.
And I thought he started to learn. I saw a change. I saw improvements going into last season when Dallas had Luka and Kyrie, and they've really valued secondary creation. I saw it start to go in the right direction, but then Quentin Grimes got shipped out. Luka got traded for AD, and Luka was not valued correctly, and so he got traded for under his actual value. And Quentin Grimes, the only guy who could do stuff on the ball, self-creation, he got shipped out for a player who can't do that. And once again, Dallas is in the same situation. I understand Nico Harrison knows Dallas needs creators going into next season. I still think that he has some level of a blind spot there. And that's what worries me about him being in charge of the team, is that Dallas still, even knowing Kyrie's going to miss 50 games, is not going to solve that meaningfully enough. and is going to go too far into the two-way players, which do not have those abilities, and thus limit and suppress Dallas's highest ceiling.
That'll do it for us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But before we go, we have a very quick announcement from our National NBA insider, Marc Stein.
Sorry that this came after the Fast Channel 59 alert. My bad.
Fast Channel 59.
Mavericks coach Jason Kidd, he appeared earlier today on the Dan Patrick Show, but I just found out, just confirmed, he is scheduled to make an in-studio visit with the DLLS squad on Monday.
What?
So on Monday,
what does it mean?
If everything stays aligned, he will be joining us Monday in the lounge. We've been banished to the podcast set last couple days, but we're back.
Who's in charge of scheduling around here?
We're back in the lounge, but we only have 4 chairs, right? So what does that mean?
I'll just be off whenever he's on.
Really?
Yeah.
You're just gonna watch?
Yeah, I'll just watch. Maybe I'll have.
You want to sub in? Like,
We'll figure it out.
we can get him to call a timeout, and then I'll sub in.
Well, there you go. That is the announcement.
Let's
Jason
go.
Kidd, Mavericks
Monday
head coach,
at noon. Don't miss it.
Monday at noon.
Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd will be on the DLLS Mavs podcast at 12 p.m. on Monday afternoon. So mark your calendars, boys and girls, for Monday.
I think more like 12:15. We'll be on it Monday at noon, and he'll be joining.
I'm saying just come in the show at 12 p.m. Be here at 12 p.m. Appreciate it, Tanner, making us look good and sound good and not cussing us out for going over the time period. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that. That's our National NBA insider, Marc Stein. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Curl. That is our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. right here on DLLS
Only 4
Sports.
chairs around here.
Sorry, Mr. Crazy. We only got 4
good.
chairs.
Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.